Hi everyone, welcome to Go Bad Deadly. I'm Chris King. Today I'll be giving you our review of Shadow of Mordor. Now, as you know, Shadow of Mordor came out in very late September, really near our start off of the whole game season 2014. But the reason why we're doing this review at this point is because, as you know, Hobbit is coming out this December, and we really want to keep this Lord of the Rings kind of in the same vein, so we can really touch upon how this game and this final chapter in the Hobbit series is really going to kind of tie in together. Shadow of Mordor takes place right after the Hobbit, what is actually one book, right in the middle between what would be Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings series. So it's really interesting to see, how they're taking this whole lore and they're not trying to adapt a movie. They're trying to just create a different kind of side story within the game itself. You play as Talion, a father and captain of an army whose family actually gets slaughtered, to say the least, and you have to kind of deal with your own personality and your own troubles and your own demons, just to say the least. So let's break down the categories. First one up is graphics. The graphics on this game, the art design is not anything too intuitive, really. It's nothing unique, to say the least, but it does really look nice, especially running on the PS4 and Xbox One. It is really smooth. I think it's clocked in at 30 frames, but it does kind of dip occasionally when you have too many monsters at any given point, especially when you're fighting all of them. The frame rate seems to kind of drop down to like 22, but it's nothing too extravagant. But the graphics right there in itself, again, it comes from WB Games, so it's going to look very gritty, very dark, and it does kind of fit the tone nicely. The gameplay is, as I mentioned, it's developed by WB Games, the same people who have developed and published the Batman Arkham games. And those games obviously are almost flawless games, especially in the combat, because it was something very unique at the time to have this kind of free-flow combat, which is what they call it. So in Shadow of Mordor, you're pretty much taking the same kind of beats, square or B to kind of attack, and triangle or what have you to counter. It's kind of counter and attacking system, but this one is a little bit more fast paced. You have a little bit different more abilities to kind of have at your disposal, so it can be a little bit more fun than it's kind of say like one of Batman Arkham Origins, for instance. But it does really kind of play nicely into the whole Arkham series, and if you played those games, you'll probably have a lot of fun with this. The replayability on this game is probably one of the weaker components to this game, because the campaign is fairly short. There's 20 missions, but it does have a lot of kind of side content, and they're working on DLC as well. Unfortunately, although even a game may have this side content, you have to ask yourself, do I want to explore this side content? And there wasn't really anything too thrilling that wants you to come back into this world after you've already beaten it. It's kind of like a one and done. You beat the game and that you had this nice experience and stuff. Although the Nemesis system is really top notch and really, really unique, and I absolutely love it. It's some of the best enemy AI that I've seen in definitely this generation that we've already been, kind of a year in. It's based on memory, so these enemies, when they kill you, they know how they killed you. They know, what you were doing when they killed you, and they kind of speak to you every single time you meet them up. And on that, the character designs are really, really unique. No one Uruk pretty much looks the same. At some point, you may find a few that look similar, but for the most part, they don't really look the same. Their scars differ, their armor differ, and their weapons differ. So it's really kind of fun to keep coming back and fighting different Uruks and seeing, trying to get your revenge on these guys. Now, the narrative is the weakest component of this game. Although, as I mentioned, you have so much lore at your disposal, this is a little bit more of a side story, a kind of like a what-if story. You're kind of following, as mentioned, this guy who's on a revenge path. So nothing too unique, nothing too different that we haven't seen before in most games. A lot of games touch on this kind of tone, a lot about revenge, but it's still interesting. It's still really fun, and I have to admit, it is the first Middle-earth game that I've actually thoroughly enjoyed, if not loved. So it does have a lot of potential. Unfortunately, in some of these categories, it doesn't really hit all the right notes, but it does have a lot of potential, as I said. Batman Arkham Asylum, I remember, although that game was almost flawless, Arkham City really opened it up, and that's kind of what I want to see in a sequel to this game. I do think a sequel would be really, really good. Although you have a lot of this one-on-one combat, I would love to see Shadow of Mordor set in a much grander scale and set more in the Tolkien universe and see what they can really do with that, and definitely introduce more characters from the mythology. And I think you have definitely a really good new franchise. So Shadow of Mordor is going to get a 6 out of 10. Now, most of you our other reviews have been out of 5. Starting with Shadow of Mordor, we're going to try this out, and we're going to try to just simply we have our sum and we're just multiplying by 2 to obviously get that scale of 10. The reason for doing this is just because near the end of this year we're going to have so many different games, movies, and albums that were at 3s or at 4s, a few of them 5s, and it's going to be a little bit too overwhelming to calculate exactly which game can technically, kind of be our game of the year. So we really want to kind of just do this so we can avoid this problem in the future. We're going to try it for now and see if it does work for us. But Shadow Mordor, 6 out of 10. Definitely a recommended game to try it out or rent it or what have you. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you like this, just share with your friends. Give us your opinions. If any of you guys are playing Shadow Mordor still, looking forward to the hobby, let us know what you guys are thinking. And thank you.